My name is Omar Hassan, and this is the story of how I died and came back with a truth I never expected to find. I was born and raised in a devout Muslim family. My father was an imam, a respected leader in our community, and from the moment I could speak, I was taught the ways of Islam. Prayer, fasting, obedience to Allah. These were not just rituals, they were my identity, my purpose. I never questioned anything. I didn't need to. Islam was the truth, the only truth, and I was absolutely certain that if I followed its teachings, I would earn my place in paradise. As a child, I spent countless hours in the mosque, memorizing the Quran, perfecting my prayers, and seeking to please Allah in everything I did. I remember waking up before dawn for Fajr prayer, sometimes feeling exhausted, but knowing it was my duty. I fasted every Ramadan, even on the hottest days, pushing through hunger and thirst because I believed it would bring me closer to God. As I grew older, my devotion only deepened. I became known in my community as a righteous man, someone who took his faith seriously. I studied Islamic theology, defended my beliefs passionately, and sought to guide others on what I believed was the straight path. I was proud to be a Muslim, proud to live a life that I thought would guarantee me eternal reward. I never had a reason to doubt. Until the day everything changed. It was an ordinary day. I had been running errands, thinking about work, family, and life, just like any other afternoon. But in an instant, my world was turned upside down. I was driving home when I suddenly heard the blaring of a truck's horn. Before I could react, before I could even process what was happening, I felt an enormous impact. Everything went black. At first, I thought I was unconscious, but then something strange happened. I could still see, I could still hear, but I wasn't in my body anymore. I found myself floating above the wreckage, looking down at the crumpled remains of my car. I saw people rushing toward the scene, heard the distant sound of sirens, and then I saw my own body, motionless, lifeless. Panic surged through me. This isn't real. This can't be real. I tried to move, to call out, to do anything, but I couldn't. Instead, I felt myself being pulled, slowly at first, then faster, into a darkness unlike anything I had ever known. It was not just the absence of light, it was an all-consuming void, a place where time and space seemed to lose meaning. Fear gripped me. I had always believed in the afterlife, but this wasn't what I had expected. I called out to Allah. I recited verses from the Quran, desperately trying to ground myself, to bring myself back. But nothing changed. The darkness only deepened. Then, in the distance, I saw a light. It was small at first, almost like a distant flame. But as I moved toward it, it grew, becoming brighter, more radiant, until it was all I could see. I was drawn to it, not by force, but by something deeper, something that called to the very core of my being. And then I saw him, a man, dressed in white. His presence was overwhelming, but not in a way that filled me with fear. No, it was something else, something I had never encountered before. It was pure love, a love so powerful, so consuming that it was almost unbearable. I knew in that moment exactly who he was. I tried to deny it. No, this isn't real. This is not possible. I was Muslim. I had always been taught that Jesus was just a prophet, an important one, but not the Son of God, not divine, not the way Christians believed. And yet, standing in his presence, every argument, every belief, every theological debate I had ever clung to shattered. I fell to my knees. I couldn't speak, I couldn't move, because in that moment I realized something that shook me to my very soul. I was unworthy. I had spent my entire life trying to earn righteousness, trying to be good enough. But now, standing before true holiness, I saw myself for what I really was, a sinner. And then he spoke. "Omar, I have been waiting for you." His voice was unlike anything I had ever heard. It was powerful but gentle. It was filled with authority, yet overflowing with love. I tried to argue. I tried to explain. But I followed Allah. I prayed, I fasted, I did everything I was supposed to do. But he already knew. And in an instant, my entire life flashed before my eyes. I saw every prayer, every moment of devotion. But I also saw my failures, the moments of pride, of anger, of judgment. I saw my sins laid bare, even the ones I had forgotten, even the ones I had excused. And then the scene changed. I was no longer standing before Jesus. Instead, I was somewhere else, somewhere that filled me with terror, darkness, fire, screams. I saw people, countless souls, crying out, reaching for something, anything. But there was nothing, no hope, no escape. I knew without being told what this place was: hell. I had always believed that if I was good enough, my good deeds would outweigh the bad. But now I saw the truth. No one could ever be good enough. Salvation wasn't about deeds. It wasn't about striving. It was about grace. I wept. And then, just as suddenly, I was back in the presence of Jesus. I paid the price for you, he said, but you must choose. I had never felt such love, such mercy. Despite all my sin, despite all my rejection, he was still offering me salvation. And in that moment, I knew. Jesus, I believe. I don't even know where the words came from. They just poured out of me. I still didn't fully understand, but I knew one thing. He was the truth. And then I woke up. I was back in my body, gasping for air. The doctors were stunned. I had been dead for several minutes, and yet here I was. But I was no longer the same man. Everything had changed. When I told my family what had happened, they rejected me. My community cast me out. I lost everything, but I gained something far greater, because I finally understood. It wasn't about religion. It wasn't about rules or striving. It was about Jesus. And it's the same for you. If you're searching for truth, if you're trying to earn your way to God, stop. He's already reaching out to you. All you have to do is accept him. I don't know where you are in life right now, but I do know this: he is real. He is waiting, and he loves you more than you can imagine. Don't ignore this moment, because once you see the truth, you can never go back.